Welcome to Life, Laughter, Divorce, episode 48. I am your host, Leanne Linsky.
And I'm the boyfriend.
And welcome back to a new year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Woo-hoo.
2018, it's going to be a great one.
Yeah, it's going to be the wonderful year of divorce. Not just a week. We're moving on to bigger and better. Hey, and thanks again to all of our listeners who have joined us in the past year and has made this year so wonderful. We've learned so much with you.
And we can't thank you enough. Our listenership has grown quite a bit since the beginning, and we're excited for what we can provide you guys over the next year.
Yep. We have ideas brewing. And hey, while you're out there tuning in, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. But as always, not while you're driving. In fact, if you've enjoyed our podcast this last year, tell your friends about it. Let's build on this community that we have going on. That's pretty exciting. In fact, I even want to, we haven't done boyfriend in a long time.
What haven't we done?
We haven't reviewed the questions of the week.
We're terrible, terrible hosts.
I know. We get so excited about things that are going on that we wanted to follow up and give some shout outs to some of our many listeners who have commented. So thanks to Love Beyond Limits, Lauren Kate M, Ambivalent Son, Divorce Force Official, and Krista Ross. So
they've all answered questions of ours?
They have. So thank you so much. And
thank you very much, everybody. Yeah.
We like hearing from you on social media.
And that's on our social media Instagram, right?
That's on Instagram.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, one of the questions of the week, I think it was our most recent one, it wasn't the most recent one. It was the one about what was your healthy distraction while going through divorce?
It's kind of funny most people don't partake in healthy distractions during divorce.
No, it's usually unhealthy distractions, like another relationship or drinking or various distractions of the sort. But here are some, if you're looking for a healthy distraction, here are some that our other listeners have come up with. So, Alyssa, Red Sox fan, exercise, spinning classes, because there's loud music in those classes, walking in a nearby park, books and Netflix with earphones in, work, and that was a nice distraction too. And then M. Turner 178, walking with her dog. Nancy Cooney, audiobooks, Netflix, My 4 Dogs, and Unconditional Love. The Complicated Blonde, work, Candy Crush, My Doggy, The River, family and friends, Netflix, and music.
So is Candy Crush a healthy? Well, you're not eating candy, but you're playing a game.
It's a game. Yeah. It's a game. It could be. I would say it's definitely a healthier distraction than most.
Than some. Yeah.
Netflix seems to be a big hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miss Kimmy White, who was also a guest on the podcast, she said hot yoga. And Taryn Eisenhardt, who is also a guest on the podcast, said work and foreign films.
Ooh, foreign films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lots of movies, lots of exercise, family, friends, dogs. Dogs are a good distraction, aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't have a dog. Boyfriend?
No.
All right, maybe 2019. So thanks to everybody who's participated and given us feedback on social media this year. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And let's keep those responses coming in. And let's, like Leanna said, let's keep building this community.
That's right. We have a lot to look forward to. And I always feel like when we go into a new year, as though, we're ready to jump ahead and go into the new, I feel like there's lots of lessons that we can learn from the past that we don't want to drag our old baggage into the future, but we definitely bring some gems, some lessons learned with us along the way that we can take into our new relationship.
That's the whole recapping of your previous year. What did you learn?
Yeah.
What did you take away from it? And then what do you want to try to do in the new year to become better?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And whether we're in ending our relationships, going through the divorce, or maybe even now after our divorce, beginning new relationships, how do we make those work? And I'm really excited because today's guest, we have two. We have a couple joining us, Larry and Christina Johnson. They've been married for 25 years.
So not divorced.
Not divorced, but they've talked about divorce many times, and they're not divorced. Larry is an artist and Christina is a writer, and they have just a fascinating story that they've shared with us this week.
The roller coaster of life has had many ups and downs for them.
Yes.
And they have persevered and they've made it through.
And they keep going forward with a relationship and
hence the roller coaster analogy. You always go forward.
So, wow, it's just incredible. And the boyfriend and I found ourselves kind of on the edge of our seat as we were speaking with them. And we really hope you enjoy this interview as much as we did.
So we have this is special for you guys because the interview went really long. So we have a two-parter. We split it in two. You'll get the first half this week. And because this is a new year and we're trying to get a lot of great information out there, you're going to get the second half next week. And you're going to hear their story, which, again, like Leanne said, it was just amazing to us.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Larry and Christina Johnson. Welcome to Life, Lafter, Divorce Podcast. Today we have Larry and Christina. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Oh, and the boyfriend is here.
I'm here too.
Which is awesome because sometimes the boyfriend's not here when we do Skype interviews. So
it's too much all for us to climb into one room and talk on one mic. No, we don't do that.
Yeah, it gets kind of weird. Just a little weird.
Creepy.
Here, at least.
It's not that kind of podcast.
Most of the time. So welcome. I'm glad you guys came out. And okay, so you guys are married.
Yes.
And you've been married for
25 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What were you married when you were 5?
19.
Almost.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah,
19.
you guys were young.
Well, I was 19. He was
26. I was 25, then I turned 26 a week
always
later.
Does that? Yeah.
Because it's true. It's true. I was
He's got
20.
this thing about the age difference.
That happened to me.
6 years. It's like, which one?
My first one.
You were 25 or 19?
No, I was 22 and I was about to turn 23.
You married an 18-year-old?
No.
Oh, just checking.
He was 18 at one time, but not then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, everybody's 18 at some point.
At some point. Even I was.
Right?
It was.
Mm-hmm.
No,
So,
18.
okay. So you were 19.
I was
You were
19.
25.
25.
Mhm.
And you've been married 25
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
which is a really long time. So, obviously this podcast is about divorce. You've not been divorced.
No,
Close.
we've been close
Close.
many times.
Close. Close to the edge.
Yes. Yes.
Often.
How many?
Let me see.
3, 4?
3 or 4 times?
3 or 4?
How close is 3 or 4 times? Like lawyers, papers, or just separation?
Separation once.
Papers
And-
written out, but not filed.
That's right.
Once.
Papers written out, but
So
not
really
filed.
close.
We
Close,
both, then
yes.
I asked for it once, and then you asked for it once.
Couple of times.
You asked for it a couple of times. I only asked for it once,
Yeah, well, you got in trouble more than me. So
but I only asked for it once. I asked for it before I got in trouble, before you knew I was in trouble.
yeah, yeah. So it's like
tried to
4
duck out.
times.
I tried
Yeah.
to duck out
He
before.
was already in trouble.
I was in trouble, but I was like, okay, let me leave now before it really hits the fan. So let me. And she said, no, that's not a good enough reason. Well, I'm like, you sure? And then years later, she found out I should have let your ass go.
Well, basically.
So were you guys trying to like call each other's bluff with these
No.
filings and stuff or?
When
No.
when was the timing of this? You guys
Yeah.
been married for 25 years. If this happened multiple times,
Multiple times, yes.
Yeah.
when was the most recent? Has it been a while?
2014?
No, 14?
2014.
That was you.
No,
That was you.
no,
No.
it wasn't.
I think that was 9.
2017. That's 2009. The last
2009
one was 2014.
Well, the last time
Okay,
was
so pay
2014
attention.
when
He said
you
the
wanted to
very
go.
last
Okay, but that was when
time
you were ready to go, but I wasn't ready
2014.
for you to go.
Okay, so pay attention.
Well, so the most recent was 2014. When was the first?
Yeah.
Like right after you guys got married, or were you?
No.
Did you have like a long honeymoon
Ooh.
phase?
2004.
Yeah, so right after we
2004.
No. Right after we were married, the annulment.
That was but that wasn't a divorce. That was an annulment.
Wait, you went for an annulment?
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. It was really weird. So
You'll never live that one down.
yeah, I see. So yeah, I asked for an annulment because I it was, oh my gosh. So there was this person that I was sort of engaged to when I was in the military. And I came home from the military back to California and lived my life, thought everything that was in the past was supposedly in the past. And you think that. And then I met T, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm married. I'm good.
They don't know who T is.
You're T.
But my name is Christina. See, they wouldn't know that.
So I met Christina, who I call T. So for reference. And I got married, and I thought everything was hunky-dory, and I was all cool. But the person who I was engaged to picked up the phone and reached out to me. But the interesting...
Wait a minute. The person you were engaged to before, Christina?
Yeah. The person I was engaged to before Christina, who I had tried to connect with after I got home from the military, but did not pick up the phone, would never talk to me because they were hiding information that I didn't know they were hiding. That I didn't find out about until after I got married, when she picked up the phone and called me because my number didn't change. And we're talking about a matter of
let's give her a fake name.
Yeah.
Let's start with A. So Alice.
Great.
Alice called.
So when Alice called, like literally, so 80, 88, 89, 90, 92, 4 years later, picks up the phone and calls me out of the blue and going like, hey, how you doing? I miss you, da-da-da-da-da. This is what happened. This is why I didn't show. What? Okay, this is why you didn't show. All right. Well, geez, I think I made a mistake. I think I rushed into marriage. My thinking, limited thought process as I had at such an age. I felt like incredibly like wrong about everything, but I'm like, okay, well, maybe I rushed this too soon. And I said, well, maybe I should get an annulment because we're kind of early in the relationship. And I think I should just, we should just not do this. This is probably a mistake on
And you and Christina had been married?
A month or two.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like right after.
Okay.
Just getting back from the honeymoon, settling in.
And already pregnant.
And pregnant. and she was like, no, I'm pregnant with your child. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But, back then I was of the mindset like, okay, so we have a baby. You know what? No big deal. We'll have kids. I'll still be a dad and you'll still be a mom. It'll be all right.
All because evasive Alice called.
Because
evasive
Alice called and just rocked my world, which evidently kind of was that kind of whole thing. All of unresolved issues were a lot of our problems. A lot of things that I thought were resolved were not resolved.
With Alice.
With a bunch of people, you'll come to find out.
All right.
So I had a lot of unfinished
good thing we started with A. We'll work our way through.
We'll work our way. We might get to Q. But it was really just a matter of a lot of unresolved issues because I got married at 25, 26 years old, and without even realizing how much unresolved stuff I had. And I mean, I had a lot of unresolved things I thought were like, oh no, that's done. That's in the past. That's dealt with. Oh, that was cool. But it's really just me just walking away from stuff or life taking things away from me that I wasn't quite ready to let go of. And then I got married, starting something new before a whole bunch of other stuff wasn't finished.
Wow. So, Christina, you were married. You guys have been married a month and you were pregnant.
Yes. So I was pregnant before we got married. We got engaged and then we got pregnant. And then we got
That's
married.
That's important to say because a lot of people think you were pregnant and then you got engaged. But we were engaged and then we got pregnant.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
And so a couple of months after, he asked for the annulment and he was just like, we could be friends. And I was like, no, I think not. And so then I think I took every picture of me, everything that existed of me from the apartment, and I left. And he came and found me at the dorm. I used to go to USC at the time. And so I went up to the dorm and stayed there with my friends for a little while. And then he came and found me and we went back home to talk. And one of the things that I said was, maybe this is the difference between those people who are married for a month or 2 months and the ones that are married for years. This thing right now, maybe, we work through this, and this is how you end up being the couple that's married for years. Maybe you don't give up at this one spot because we're good friends, and what would we be giving up? So we stuck it out past that point.
Yeah, and that's so. So there are like several things I can think are like repeating themes in our relationship, and we always come back to we're good friends. Because when we met, and so there's like so much backstory behind the backstory behind the story behind the backstory.
Well, can I tell the story of how we met?
That's kind of important because that'll bring down how she got back to the dorms. And so go ahead, you tell the story.
So I'm originally from Providence, Rhode Island, and I came out here to go to school at USC, and I was here for about 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Yeah. And I was broke. I came with $100. That is it. I came 3,000 miles, $100 to my name, and not close enough. $100 to my name. And after about 2 weeks, I was completely broke. I was still looking for work. And I hadn't found anything yet. So I go into the university church and I go, God, why did you send me here? I don't have any more food and I'm dehydrated. I didn't know to buy water.
Oh, no.
And so I just sat there praying for a while, and then I got up and I took my sick, dehydrated self back to the dorm. And I was walking by this group of a couple of guys that were sitting on a bench. That's not the first time
No,
I
that
met
was the
you.
first time you saw me.
Okay.
No, that's not where you first met me.
So before then, I went to the financial services office with my roommate.
Where I
work. I saw this very handsome guy that was like dressed so nicely, just so sharp. And I wanted to get his attention. So I walked up the stairs slowly to give him time to talk to me. But he didn't. So it was almost near the top of the stairs and I gave up. And I was like, oh, man, I just couldn't get his attention. And then I hear, hey, you're walking up those stairs kind of slow there. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm kind of tired. And he's like, oh, well, you should have more pep in your step or something like that.
You're too young to be so tired.
Yeah. So he said all of that. And I finished walking up the stairs with my roommate. And so, you picture me at the financial services desk with my roommate going, hurry up. I need to get back downstairs and talk to this guy. And so we finish taking care of her business. And I come back down and he is with this girl that is like, but just like all over the place and way out of league for me. And I was like, that must be his girlfriend. And so I just went by.
We were having a political conversation.
Oh, no. She had one of those tight dresses on and a skirt or whatever, but totally out of league for me. And I just kind of gave up then. So the day that I was dehydrated and everything, I was walking back to my dorm and he was off to the side talking to a group of girls. It was him and another guy that was always out there talking to a group of girls. And so I walked by and said, hey, Sleepy, what's up? And I was just like, hey, and I just kept going. And as I was walking by, I said, God, I wish he would take me to lunch. I'm so hungry. And he came running behind me and stopped me and took me to lunch.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so we went cross street to University Village and we had lunch and she didn't like Mexican food. And unbeknownst to me, she didn't like Mexican food, but she's from Providence, Rhode Island.
Yucky burrito.
She's from Providence, Rhode Island, so she doesn't know the difference. She didn't know the difference. She didn't know what good Mexican food was.
Isn't that what you guys said you had on your way here?
Yeah, Taco Bell, right. And so
he had a burrito.
I had a burrito.
I still don't like burritos.
I bought her a burrito and something else or whatever. And she's like, yeah, pick that. If you're hungry, you eat, right? But so she picked at it and then she's like, oh, all right, thanks. And so I'm like, okay, cool. All right. So I walked her back to her dorms because I had to go back to work because it was my lunch break. And she went up to her room, and I had a date that afternoon with this other girl, and this other girl who happened to be a student as well. So I had a date with her, and I called her and I said, "Hey, so we going?" She said, "No, I got to go home. My brother was hurt playing football this time." I'm like, "All right, cool, whatever. Take care, peace." And I'm like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go home," but I didn't really feel like going home, so I went and I found Tina's room. I found Christina's room because I didn't even know where she lived. I didn't know where dorm room she lived, but I had a way of finding what I wanted to find, getting what I want. So I got into the dorms and I went up to her room and I knocked on the door like, "Hey, what's up? You want to go out?" She's like, "Okay." So this time she didn't get a burrito. So I took her to eat. Pizza. I said, "You want to get some pizza and go check out a movie?" And we literally, from the day we met, we've been together. Just we went to go just hang out. And I said, "Get some pizza." Because she wasn't like,
so
I wasn't trying to go there with it.
Okay, that's not
true.
No.
At first, when I came to pick you up to take you out, it was just like to hang out.
So he goes, "Let's go out for some pizza and a movie." Next thing I know, we're renting a movie and we're getting pizza for his apartment.
Before Netflix and chill, there was pizza in the movie.
Here,
and she's still here.
She's still here.
Well, what happened was,
Netflix wasn't
I knew who I was dating, but so we go back to his place and we watched a couple of movies, and he had this easel off to the side, and I turned around and I saw a scene that I had dreamt about in the picture, and so I said, "Where did you get that picture from?" And he said, "I painted it. It's mine." And I just started to cry. And he's like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, I don't know. That's what I told him. But in the dream, I had met my husband in that scene. And so I cried. He held me while I cried the rest of the night, and I spent the night there.
Really
and we just slept together. And it was very, very nice. And we've been together ever since.
Yeah. So
I have to ask, what was the painting of?
A beach.
A
beach scene.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just a seascape.
Yep. And just before I had come out to California, I felt like I was being led here by God, and I just when I saw that, I just knew it didn't make any sense at the time.
Do you still have this painting?
Yeah, I still got it.
You both. Is it in the garage or something?
Yes, it is. It's just in the garage.
All of the paintings are in the garage because that's where I paint at now. Like I'm back to paint. So it's like things come full circle. So I'm back to painting now. So all of the paintings are in the garage. So it's not like we just shoved it.
It's like,
but it's on the shelf.
Behind a carburetor or something.
No. It's hanging with the rest. It's with the rest.
It totally is.
It's totally is.
That is really cool. Okay.
But that's how we met.
So that's how you guys met.
Yeah.
And then,
so how long did it take for you guys to go from meeting, dating to marriage?
A year.
1 year.
1 year.
We got married 1 year from the date of our meeting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we met September 6th, 1991. And then we got married September 6th, 1992. So I asked her to marry me. So we go through the whole school year, right? Dating. We're dating all through the school year. And then she goes home in the summer. And I'm like, "Okay, you're going home. Let's just call it a wrap right here because you're going to go back home for the summer. Go and do your thing. You're young. I'm kind of ready to like chill and just settle down and something. You're only 18 years old. You need to go and get on with your life and stuff. Like 19 at the time. Get on with your life and have a good life. And I wish you the best. And if you ever need me, I'll be around. I'm your friend for life. Whatever." So she goes home back to Providence, Rhode Island, and she calls me every day. "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing good. How you doing?"
No, and I call him every day and say, "Have you changed your mind?"
Have you changed your mind? And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. You go ahead." So me and my best friend, my boy, we're running around, we're dating, and we're like out in the streets again, doing our thing. And then, so I'm literally like laying in the bed with some woman at this time. And she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. She's like, you're distracted. I'm like, no, I'm cool. And she's like, she's like, because she knew I had just broken up. I mean, it wasn't like I was keeping secrets back then. Keeping secrets was not my thing. It was like, yo, this is what it is. It is what it is. Deal with it if you can deal with it. If not, peace. And so she said, you're thinking about your girl, huh? I'm like, yeah, that's none of your business. You can leave that alone. And she said, yeah, well, you need to call her or something. I'm like, nah, that's, just like stop that. Anyway, so after a few minutes or a little while of just laying there and not doing anything, but just sitting there thinking, I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and take you home. And so she's like, all right, well, that's cool. And I took her home, and she's like, you really got that girl's really on your mind. I'm like, yeah, wait. So the next day I go talk to my older brother, and he's like, so how are you doing? I'm like, I'm straight. So, and he said, well, can you see somebody else with her? And I said, well, I guess if I have to, yeah. She said, well, what would you do if somebody hurt her? I said, I'd probably want to just choke him out. I would put a serious hurt on somebody who ever hurt her. He says, well, if you want to protect her, then you got to do what you got to do. You got to step up if you got to be there in order to protect her. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you're right. And I thought about it for a little bit. Then I called her, and I think I said, why don't we just get married or something like that?
Yeah, it was really weak.
It was like, it was really whack. It was
and it worked.
Yeah, but it worked. But it was horrible. It was like the worst proposal in the world.
He fixed it later.
And then I said, yeah, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and get married. And she said, all right. And then I think a week later, I got on a plane and came to Providence.
So I was thinking, when you come back, why don't you instead of moving your stuff out, just keep your stuff here forever? And I was like, what?
Yeah, why don't you just stay here? Why don't you just stay here with me? And then I
was like, are you asking me to marry you?
And then I went to Providence, and I met her dad, and I met her mom and her brother and her family back there. And I had to go through the whole ringer with her family because she's got a huge family, and they're like very protective, and they're super close. But really didn't bother me because out here, my family is just my brothers and sisters. I mean, I have a big family, but we didn't have cousins and aunts and all that stuff to deal with. It was just us. And so I went back there with them, and I had to go through all the cousins and all the aunties and the uncles and the boy cousins and their dad and her brother, and hang out with her brother for a little while, then sit down with her cousin and his pit bulls and stuff like that for a minute.
He passed.
And they like, all right, he's cool. And then we came back, and then I went out to sea because I was in the reserves. So I went out to sea for the reserves, and I was down in Panama. And so we were engaged. Before I got to Providence, we got engaged. And that's when we found out that she was pregnant while I was in Panama on sea duty. And I called her from a payphone, and she said, yeah, I'm pregnant. I'm like, what? So I said, okay, so why don't we go ahead and we were gonna get married after she graduated. That was our original plan. After her 4 years of school, we would get married. So I said, well, I don't want our baby born like in some general hospital, because I think that's where they sent all the students for the school campus at the time. They didn't have the facilities they got. And so I said, well, let me get married. As soon as we get back, we got married. That's how we ended up getting married 1 year to the date that we met, because it was like I had a pretty decent job with good insurance. So cool. We put her in a hospital, a good hospital, Cedars. And
at least that's how we sold it. But
that's
not why I got married.
I'm a salesman, consummate salesman. I got married.
It didn't make any sense to wait.
Yeah.
And when we had a baby on the way. So.
Yeah. And so we got married. And so that's how that happened. So that's how the marriage thing happened. It's just like, it's snowballed. So from day one to now, everything's been like going.
So back to the annulment thing. So then in October, you get this call from...
Yes. And I start to rethink the whole thing.
Wow.
It's like now I'm thinking that maybe I might have done things a little quickly.
Yes.
And that's what I did. And it was really weird. And it just like, it did happen. So we didn't do it. Then we fast forward, we go through some years. I'm not a good husband. I'm like having doubts all across the board. I mean, because after me pulling that one, I had doubts about everything. Yeah. I was like, dude, wow. I mean,
once one creeps in there, then they just all start to sprout.
Yeah, and it's like
back-to-back babies.
Back-to-back children.
Because we have 7.
Really?
Yes. 7 kids?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, we do.
We have 7 children.
We have
what happened
7
to Netflix?
It wasn't out then.
Oh, right.
There was no Netflix. And you could only rent so many videos before you had to start. But yeah, so we had children back-to-back, financial pressures, trying to make ends meet. And she was in school for the first 2.5, 3 children.
3.
To Lawrence. And then she had to drop from school. And so she was at home taking care of these babies. And I was working and going from job to job. So I went from that one position, the first one, to another one. I hurt my knee. Mm-hmm. I hurt my knee and got an injury and had surgery. So I had to get vocational rehabilitation. And then there was a job switch and a whole career change. Which turned out to be a good thing in the long run, but at the time, and you're young and you got these little babies in the house. So I think Chris was a baby and Diamond was in your stomach. And when I did my surgery, Diamond wasn't here yet.
I was pregnant with Diamond. So that number 2, I was pregnant with.
So number 2. So this happened so life is happening in rapid succession.
Yeah.
And I'm having all this doubt on whether or not I'm even a good person because I had asked my wife for an annulment a month after getting married with my first child in her stomach. And I just complete self-doubt. And then, like I said, issues after issues. I mean, I remember one time we were sitting up watching TV, laying on a couch. She was laying on my arms and somebody called me talking about I said, who's this? She says, your number 1 baby. I'm like, no, my baby's laying here in my house. And it was an ex-girlfriend who I didn't change my phone number, who called my house out of the blue talking about she's my number 1. I'm like, no, I'm laying here with my number 1. So it's like just stuff just falling in, coming from different angles.
So Christina, when did he finally change his number?
Oh my gosh, that was a thing. I mean, so when we first got married, he had this thing where he couldn't let go of the past to save his life. I mean, he just really couldn't. He couldn't let go of the past, and he couldn't accept that what he was looking for was already here. So I think the first few years of our marriage, he was constantly looking to see, I guess, if the quote unquote, one was there. And I kept saying to him, you're going to lose everything that you've been looking for. It's like right here. But he could not see it. And that was that way for quite a long time. There were a lot of infidelities, a lot of trust issues until there was no trust. I mean, and can I can say everything?
I hacked away at the trust like old wood.
So we had total of somewhere around 8 infidelities throughout the marriage, throughout the years, until finally I was through. I really was through. And in 2009, the last one came along, and I said, that's enough. And before 2009, when he tried to leave, he cheated on me with a different ex-fiance, who we'll call Bernice.
Okay.
And I did not know about that. But I thought that he had gone on a business trip and cheated and did something, and he came back, and I asked him for separation, and I didn't know that there was anything else going on, and then I found out later that he had gotten back with this woman and was trying to divorce me, not just separate to straighten things out. And so that was a complete eye-opener. And so I personally tried to keep every time he did something wrong, because I wanted the family, because I wanted the life together, I would forgive him so that we could get over it and move on. But, and I would say he was forgiven, but I guess not really, because, you can't just push stuff aside. You still have it. And he would feel that. And then he would go and cheat again, and, it would just be this really bad cycle. And so after a while, it was just like, I can't do that cycle anymore. I don't want to do that. And so I would not let him see me cry, or I would try to be strong, just try and, turn things off. And we were going to a church at that time. And I remember talking to one of the pastors, and I told him what happened. And he said, have you been crying? And I said, yes. And he said, where is your husband when you're crying? And I said, he's not here. I'm not going to cry in front of him. He did this to me and that to me. And he said, I think you should let your husband see you cry. And I was like, what? And he said, I think you should let your husband see what happens when he cheats. And so I did. And he did not know that I cared that much, because I hid that. The more that I got hurt, the more I hid it, because I didn't want to feel vulnerable. Well, that was the exact opposite of what I needed to do. And so when I had been told that, I let him see. And I let him see every time I cried, and all the pain that came from that infidelity. And we went to counseling. And it wasn't fun for either one of us. The really funny part about counseling is you go in together, and inevitably one person is very upset at the end. Yeah.
So
one person is happy and the other one is not, and it changes.
and so, there are times when you go into the counseling session and it's like, okay, most men are thinking, this is some total BS, and, this guy's just going to jump on me. And you feel like between the counselor, whether it's male or female counselor, and the spouse, the wife, they're jumping on you. Oh, they're jumping on me. They're jumping down my stuff. This is all my fault. Everything's my fault. Fine, just blame everything on me. And that the time we went to the counselor with the church, I was like, yeah, blame everything on me. I don't give a shit. I don't care. You just blame it on me. Fine, I'll take the hit. Whatever, give it to me. But we would go in, and sometimes it wouldn't be me. I'd come out going like, hey, I'm kind of vindicated here. It ain't on me. It's on you now. How you like that? That don't feel good, do it?
It was that way.
And she'd be like, shut up. I don't want to hear it. And so it's really weird, because, like I said, this friendship thing would always come back into play. So we go to counseling, and one of us would come out mad. So we're getting in the car together. One of us is heated. Either she's heated or I'm heated. Somebody's heated. Yeah. And the other person would not let up. It wasn't like, oh, poor baby, there, your feelings hurt. It's like, see, that shit don't feel good, do it. That's on you. You shouldn't have done that. See, if you hadn't done this shit, we wouldn't be in this predicament right now. It's like, yeah, all right, fine, leave me alone, shut up. And so by the time we got home, we were laughing again.
Yeah.
That's the weirdness of the relationship.
We've always laughed.
So whenever we've been mad, we find a way to laugh.
Infidelities. Like once I remember he went out with his friend the night before my birthday, which is New Year's Eve. So I'm at home with the kids and everything, and I say, where are you going? He's like, oh, I'm just going to go out with can I say Wes?
No, yes.
So I'm just going to go out with Wes for a little bit, and I'll be back. And I said, you're supposed to be watching the kids so I can do some writing. And he's like, yeah, but I'll be back. And I said, we're going to have a problem. If you leave, if you go out this house right now, we're going to have a problem. And so he left. And he goes out the house, and I turn around and I look, and I see that he left the keys to the house. So I said, okay, great. So I took his stuff and I threw it. So we were in an apartment building, and so I threw it down into the lobby.
I like you guys more and more.
And I think. Yeah, in the lobby.
She didn't want to put it too far out the street.
So I didn't want anybody to steal his stuff.
She's like, if I put his nice stuff out in the street, it'll walk off. Yeah. So she put it in this lobby behind this locked door. So it's like, it's controlled access. So
I never told him this, but I kept checking to make sure nobody took his stuff. But I threw all his stuff down there, and then I deadbolted the door, right? And so the car keys are on there too. And so he comes back, he goes to try and open the door, and he can't open the door. He's like, hey, what's going on? Why are my clothes out here? And so then he goes back to his friend's house, which is across the street. And he's like, hey, Wes, come this shit. Out the house.
And I'm like dying laughing because it's like, I'm pissed off, but I'm like, I don't believe this is happening. Shit out the door. Yo, Wes, do you believe it? And my best friend, he's laughing at me like, oh shit, I guess she told you not.
Is this before or after Facebook? Because this would have been funny.
This was way before
she said she told you not to leave.
So he came to the door and he was like, look, stop playing. I just give me the keys and I'll go. And I said, keys? What keys? He's like, just give me the keys to the car. I said, that sounds like a personal problem to me. And so he went back to his friend's house, and then his friend's wife called me and she said, Tina, what are you doing to that man over there? And I'm on the phone cracking up. I just dying laughing. And she's like, no, you know better. You need to let that man in the house. And so I had a nice, good laugh. I was in tears crying. So I was cracking up. Oh. And even though I was totally pissed off, and it let him back in the house.
I went back in like the next day.
No, it wasn't the next day. That's the same night. Yeah.
We make that video the next day. So we had to make a video.
It didn't work.
So the next day we made a video.
Promising never to go out.
to never leave when she says don't leave. And we had the witness of my best friend and his wife videotape me saying I would never do that again.
Yeah, that video disappeared.
It's gone.
It's in the garage next to that painting.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So
it was on VHS. Couldn't watch it if we wanted to.
How did it feel to throw all that? So that's something I always thought about, but I never did.
Oh, it felt so good. It did. He also used to have these photo albums of old girlfriends. I threw those away also, but he didn't find out till years later that they'd been thrown away. But yeah, no, it felt good to do it. And what I learned later, much later, after the last almost divorce in 2014, somewhere around there, that we can't hold stuff back. Like our biggest problem was not having conversations that would lead to an argument because we thought that was, we needed to avoid the argument. And instead, what we found is that we need to have the hard conversation. So whatever it is that you don't want to say is what you do need to say in order to avoid the bigger issue later. So now, rather than stew about something or think about something over and over again, I will come out and try and talk about it. Even if it's going to make me cry and look stupid, even if it paints me in a bad light, even if I feel like it makes me look weak, we'll have that conversation. And it usually dispels the issue very quickly. So,
because a lot of times what happens, so after all those years of infidelity or whatever, you build this kind of, you destroy the trust, but you start reshaping another person, your partner's reality. And their perception of you is that you are this thing, this horrible person thing. So even when you fix whatever your issues are, because like I said, a lot of unresolved issues, and then coming into a marriage with a whole bunch of brokenness. So, we both have come to the point through counseling together, then counseling separate, apart, then having conversations together, that we found that like we were both kind of broken in our own ways. And then when you bring that into a relationship, you bring so much stuff into a marriage and so many broken pieces. So when you start to fix the pieces, your partner still sees you as this broken thing, this messed up thing that you had, that all your behaviors have exhibited. You showed them messed up. And so they see you as messed up. And so when you're no longer as messed up, or you're trying to put your stuff back together, or you're trying to fix yourself, or you're being fixed, in our case, we, having a God-centered relationship, being fixed.
So it wasn't that way before.
So we have this thing where there's things that'll rise up. Certain behaviors trigger memories, which triggers the impression of the old you. And you have to have the conversation. So when she says having that conversation, if I go out, because now, when I go out for business or whatever, I might come home around, 1, 2 o'clock. I'm more cognizant of my time. I'm more cognizant about my whereabouts and my behaviors and how my behaviors are being perceived. So I'll come home and she's a little tense, and I'm thinking she's thinking I've done something, or I'm in the mind. So I'll have to say, are you all right? Is everything all right? Is everything going on? She might say, yeah, everything's fine, but she's not. So that hard conversation that she's talking about she has to have, she has like, well, I feel like the past. I feel like back when. And I have to say, okay, so just so you know, here's where I've been, and here's proof of me being where I've been. Here's, this and that and the other. And I give all this supporting material to say, we're not in the past anymore. We're back we're in a different place. And then she says, okay, cool. Well, I'm glad because she has taken things for a couple of days, and I'm like, nah, you telling me something's not wrong, but you're acting like something's wrong. So we call each other on our behaviors. We call each other on how things perceive, and we get clarification.
But that, to me, hearing you guys discuss this, it sounds like you guys have grown so much, because in that situation, I know I haven't went through the counseling that you've been through, but I would be defensive. And for you to not be defensive and come across and say, this is the information you want, there's nothing to worry here, and you guys to be able to have that conversation shows that you both have grown quite a bit to be able to keep this relationship moving forward in a good direction.
Yeah, it used to be that way.
We were mad defensive. Crazy defensive.
In the beginning, with the first couple of infidelities, if there was suspicion, even if the suspicion was right, mad defensiveness. Who are you? Why you can't check my phone? You can't do this. You can't do that. That whole thing. And super suspicious about everything and checking everything. And, I mean, we've gone through the ringer
so every
of stuff.
Cliche, and I won't even call it cliche if that's insensitive. Sorry if somebody feels hurt by it, but every cliche behavior that you could think of, we went through.
Yeah.
The checking the phone, the checking the pockets, the checking the whereabouts. She bugged our phone.
Bugged the phone.
She had a neighbor, some neighbor said he followed me. I don't know what it is.
Oh, I didn't do that.
She checked. She would use conversation to hit me to trip myself up, to admit to something. And I was defensive about what I said, what I didn't say. Who I saw versus I didn't saw. I mean, all the tricks in the books, names under women with different names in the phone. So you pull up a phone number, it's like, that's Joe. That's Joe. That's not Jill. That's Joe.
Yeah.
Everything that you could think of that a person could go through, would do, we did that.
And didn't it make you feel, did it make you feel like you were going crazy at times? Because that takes a lot of energy.
Yes. And I had baggage about that, because I came from a house where my dad was bipolar, and he had fits of paranoia, and he would always accuse us of doing things that we didn't do. So I was especially sensitive when he would say, "You're accusing me," and so I would back off. And I had this thing about lying, like I didn't want anyone to lie to me because I had heard so many lies growing up, and I just wanted straightforward stuff. And so when the cheating started happening in with people in my vicinity, I felt extremely betrayed. And I felt like the life that I knew or thought I knew was not true. There was this one part where I had found out about an infidelity, and it changed how I looked at the pictures of our family because there were other things happening in the background of those pictures. And it completely changed how I saw my life. And it was totally different. I felt betrayed on so many levels. And then I felt betrayed by God himself because you have me in a marriage here where all these things are going on and I'm just supposed to forgive? Come on. This is crazy. And so, and there wasn't, so in 2009, when, it's way down, how long had we been married in 2009?
92, 2000, a long time.
19 years or so.
Somewhere around there.
Years.
And so we, at that point, he was talking to some new girl or whatever, and I was through, and I said, stop talking to this woman, and he didn't, and I kicked him out the house, and he was still talking to this woman. So I gave up. And I called an old boyfriend, and that's when my infidelity took place. And at that point, I was leaving, though. I really thought that was it, because I was like, you're not going to stop talking to this woman, even though I'm saying I'm going to leave you. And he didn't. And so I left, and I got sent on a business trip that happened to put me in the city where the old boyfriend was, and cheated in full view of my husband.
It
was a definite.
This was a definitely. So this is where you say, okay, so for every lie that I might have contrived in the early part of our marriage, her truth was way more hurtful to me because she's like, well, her whole thing of not being lied to, she used the truth as was a hell of a weapon. The truth is a hard weapon, because when this dude came out of the background, it was like, yeah, that's who I'm talking to. And that's what I'm talking to. And to the point where we're having dinner and the dude called and she's like, take the phone call. I'm like, yo, could you at least do me the courtesy of not taking the phone call during dinner time? At least have him. I'm like, can you at least hide the shit? Nope. What am I going to hide it for? And it was really kind of messing me up at the time because the person that she's speaking of calling me or catching up with me, this is now Facebook is the enemy of relationships. So Facebook is now created. So this is an interesting story in the Facebook side. I didn't have Facebook. She got Facebook first because she went on Facebook to see her old friend, to see how, because he reached out to you first. Now, here's the chronology of that situation. He reached out to her first, and she was talking to him, and then she said, because she's entertaining having friendships with him because she felt like I had done so much wrong. What's wrong with me as a woman? So I'm gonna wait.
So I'm gonna correct you because you're wrong, and so I'm just gonna correct you. So because I know there's probably a lot of women out there who do what I did.
Okay.
I had no intention of cheating.
I know.
What I was trying to do was to teach him a lesson because he was trying to still be friends with someone in the one of the one of the Bernice,
Okay,
one of the ex-fiancés, and he kept saying, "There's nothing wrong. We're just trying to be friends."
Okay, so you're trying to teach Larry a lesson.
I was just trying to teach him a lesson by going, of course you would not like me to be friends with my ex-boyfriend. And so, and he kept saying, no, I don't have any problem with it. His biggest thing was, you think I get jealous? I don't get jealous, and I don't feel this, and I don't feel that, which is a really stupid thing for a husband to say. But
it's a very yeah.
And so he was doing that, and I felt that this was probably the absolute wrong person to befriend, and so I did. And then when it didn't work, I thought, well, forget you then. I will, be friends with him and whatnot.
So now Facebook is
rekindled.
So he says, are you on Facebook? She says, no, I don't have a Facebook account. So she looks up Facebook. She looks up this person to see what his life looks like, see what he looks like, see how his life is going, and this, and that, and the other. So she gets Facebook. And so I said, oh, Facebook. I heard about it. I don't know much about it. Okay, I'll get Facebook too. So I get Facebook. I connect with her. And I'm starting, I'm going to post my little life on there. I met this person, this celebrity. I met that celebrity. So I'm doing the whole social media thing, and I'm posting this picture. She's like, you don't have any pictures of your family up there. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I didn't think too much about it.
Christina said this.
Yeah, Christina. She says, you don't have any pictures of your family up there. Let people know that you're married. I'm like, what difference does it make? I don't care. It's social media. What big whoop. So someone from my high school reached out and said, are you the Larry from this high school? And I said, yeah, this is me. She said, well, this is so-and-so. Now, I barely remembered this person. And, but then it's like, the more she send me messages and talk to me, I'm like, okay, oh yeah, I remember you. So here's where things get really messed up. I'm not trying to have a relationship with this person. They're talking to me on Facebook. She's talking to her ex-boyfriend on Facebook. I don't know what she's talking about. She doesn't know what I'm talking about because I have this history of infidelity. So for me talking to anyone is suspect. But I'm talking to her and she's trying to get into my life. This person's really trying to get in. Claire is really trying to get into my life. And I'm like, no, that's nice. I'm sorry. It's great to hear what's going on with your life. I'm sorry. She's telling me all these bad things that happened to her because we didn't hook up back then. And I'm like, I'm really sorry to hear about all that stuff. I really can't do anything for you. Because at this time, I've seriously learned my lesson. I've completely listen. No, this is me. So I had known how much I had hurt Tina in the past. I'd known how much damage I had done. I had come to terms with all that. I'm trying to be a new person, and this person's really trying to come at me really hard. And this is why I say having God in the relationship makes a huge difference for us, especially, and I think it will make a difference in anybody's relationship, because this person was pouring it on really thick. You could just have me, whatever you want. And it's and I'm in this relationship where I felt my wife had enough of me, had enough of this, and now she's investing into this other dude. And she's laughing with him on work through the thing. And I'm like, okay, well, it's my fault. It's a wrap. I did this. I'm taking complete ownership on the damage of the relationship. Everything that's going wrong, it's on me. I did this. And this person's coming at me, and I'm self-medicating through conversations with this person. Now, there's no physical nothing. There's just a phone call every now and then. There's emailing and there's stuff like this, and we're talking and maybe Skyping, but I'm just talking, and I'm not trying to develop a relationship, but I'm using this person as a way to numb me from the pain that I'm receiving from my wife, who's justifiably hurting me. Who's really just she's done. She's done with me. She's done with, and then this other person comes in and is like, yo, just give me some time a day. Give me anything. Give me whatever you got. And I'm like, I don't have much left. I'm trying to give it here, but it's not wanted here, so I'm giving it to her anyway. So I'm still stupid, right? I'm still stupid because I'm still partaking in this whole thing. So that's why I say I'm not innocent. Because I'm giving into the relationship, even though I'm trying to say I don't want it. I'm letting it continue. So she's had enough of this. She goes And then her trip is coming up. She tells me, I'm going to this city where this person is.
Christina does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Adam. Well, yeah, we'll say this is Adam because he's not Adam. He's Brett because Adam was the kiss.
Whatever.
Okay, so let's not go. So Adam was the kiss years before where you were checking things.
Okay.
So Brett. So I'm going to the city where Brett is. I'm like, okay. And just so you know, I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to be magnanimous and stupid at the same time. Like, well, maybe you resolve some issues that you say have stirred up in you.
We're separated at this time.
We're kind of separated at this time. We're not.
He doesn't live in the house.
When you went on the trip, I lived in the house.
No, you didn't.
Because I stayed with the kids.
You stayed with the kids, but you weren't living in the house.
So she says, but I know that you're going. This person works in the hotel where she books her room. So it's like, okay, that's not coincident. That was completely intentional because she discussed it with me throughout. Oh yeah, I'm going to get my room at the so-and-so. Wait a minute, the so-and-so. Yeah, why the so-and-so versus, because she's like discussed all of her business travel plans with me ahead of time.
No, it was really bad. Okay.
So she discussed all her business travel. So she discussed her
I'm just going to say that I was very bad to him. I mean, I flipped the switch and went smooth off on him. I had him come with me to the store to pick the lingerie.
Yeah.
That is how bad.
That's how bad
I dogged him out.
Please join us next week to hear the rest of Larry and Christina Johnson's relationship journey.